live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.
Benny Ricciardi is here to break down the day's betting board for you.
Let's go, Jerry. Go!
Taking a first look at the day's bets, it's time for the Ftn Betting Show.
Welcome to the FTN Betscast for Friday, May 27th here at FTN Bets, sponsored by our friends over at Sleeper. Sleeper is the fastest growing fantasy platform today with millions of players, and now you could win on Sleeper by playing in their new over-under game too. It's very easy to play. So first, what you're going to do in any sport, you're going to choose two or more players that you like and pick whether they're going to go over or under their listed total. So right now we have NBA and MLB going on in the over-under game. Obviously, we're going to be talking about NBA here today, but we are going to be talking a little MLB in the next couple of weeks as the NBA season is winding down here. So what you're going to do is you're going to get things like the number of points, the number of rebounds, number of assists. In baseball, it's things like the number of hits, the number of strikeouts, and you're going to choose whether it's going to go over or under that listed total. Then you're going to choose an amount of money that you want to put into the contest. And if you pick correctly, you could win anywhere from 2 times your money all the way up to 20 times your money if you go 5 for 5 and get them all correct. The main reason why I'm excited about this game, though, is that it's the only app where you can join with your buddies and everybody play together. It has like a built-in group chat where, I could see what you're playing today. You can see what I'm playing today. All of us can see what the guy in our group who's won like 3 days in a row is playing. And this way we could all join in and play together. And it's insanely fun when everybody's sweating out the same things and, rooting for the same things to happen together inside your group chat. So stop what you're doing today, download Sleeper app, and play in their new over-under game with me. Have some fun with your friends, and let's make some money. On your mobile phone, you can join the listener group we have on Sleeper by going to sleeper.com/FTN bets, and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100, 100% deposit match up to $100. So again, sleeper.com/FTN bets, and you'll get a $100 match on that first deposit. There are terms and conditions that apply, so see Sleeper's terms of use for those details. Now, with that being said, like I said, they have MLB and NBA going on today, but we're going to talk a little bit of NBA action here because it's Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA playoffs. The Miami Heat taking on the Boston Celtics. Boston, after that big win in Game 5 in Miami, now in control of the series. They are up 3-2 with a chance to close out Miami here today. And I'm going to start with the injury stuff because it's been such a big deal for this series, and there's a lot of it. There's a bunch of guys that are banged up that are trying to play through it, but you can tell Miami is not 100% right now, and even the Celtics are not 100%. So we'll get into all of that. Let's see. Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is questionable. He is going to play. If you watched him play in that last game, though, I mean, listen, I've been watching Kyle Lowry play. I don't even remember when he came out of Villanova, probably about a dozen years ago at this point. Kyle Lowry is not playing anywhere near his full potential right now. And it sucks to see, right? Because I love Kyle Lowry. He's been a warrior. He's an NBA champion. Like, this is a guy that's an absolute stud. But he did not look good in that last game. He didn't shoot well in the first game when he played. He really doesn't have that explosiveness. And listen, it's one thing to lose your explosiveness when you're still like 7'2" and, 300 pounds like Shaq was, and you're still going to be able to contribute in a lot of ways. But you can't be a guy who's playing perimeter defense and trying to penetrate from the perimeter if you're less than 100%. And that's the problem right now for the Miami Heat, is that they have lots of those guys who are really good at it, and all of them are banged up right now, Lowry being one. Tyler Hero, from what we hear, would probably not even be playing if this wasn't the NBA playoffs right now. The injury that he's trying to fight through is one that normally keeps guys out for like 2 to 4 weeks. But again, because of where we are in the season, he's trying to do whatever he can to play through that. But again, that's another guy who's not playing up to the potential that we normally see from him. And even if he does miss the game too, here's another thing you got to think of. Like, Tyler Hero is one of their main shooters, one of their main scorers. This is a guy that takes double-digit shots most games. In the playoffs, he's been, he's had games where he had 12, 15 shots in some of these games, right? So, not having Tyler Hero in there, like, that's a lot more points that you got to make up for. Plus, you have Kyle Lowry out there who's not 100% and has basically been more of a negative than a positive when he is on the floor there. And the thing is, they have to play these guys because it's not like one guy's hurt and they can, Band-Aid over it. They have multiple guys that are banged up here, and they're just trying to get minutes out of all of them. but the minutes at this point are kind of subpar. Jimmy Butler, another one. I mean, listen, I love Jimmy Butler. I'm one of the biggest Jimmy Butler fans and have been for the longest time. But he's another guy that hasn't been playing anywhere near 100% since he got injured in game 3 and sat out the second half. Yes, he played game 4. Yeah, he played game 5, but game 4 and game 5, Jimmy, were not the same as game 1 and game 2, Jimmy, which was more like the Jimmy we saw earlier in the playoffs. I mean, you could tell just watching him that he's not as explosive. All 3 of these guys. These are the 3 guys that you would normally expect to be on the floor for Miami, closing out big, important games. And if all 3 of them are struggling with their explosiveness and not able to defend people on one end like they normally do and not able to get by people on the other end like they normally do, you can see why things have changed very quickly here for Miami over these last couple games. Boston has some stuff that they're dealing with as well. I mean, Marcus Smart, rolled that ankle. He's missed a couple games in the playoffs here. Last game he played, but he only played 24 minutes. So it's obvious he's not 100% either. I mean, again, it did turn into a blowout. They had a chance to sit him. It was smart for them to do so. But, even before that, it didn't look like he was on pace to play the, 37, 42 minutes that we've seen him play in some of these other playoff games here. And it's funny, too, because I'm going to start here today with, normally we talk about the spread and the total for it, but I want to talk about his player props here because it's really interesting to me. So in this series for the rebounding, you had, let's see, Marcus Smart has 5, 7, 9, 4, and then 5 rebounds in that last game, despite only playing 24 minutes. Yet his rebounding number today is 3.5, which is a number that he's gone over in all 5 of these games. But 3.5 is actually at plus money here today. The under 3.5 rebounds for Marcus Smart is what's juiced crazy here. Like 120 on FanDuel is the best price, 135 DraftKings, BetMGM. Everybody else is in the middle there in like 125, 130 range. So, I mean, you look at the bettors and the sports books, and they're actually expecting him not to get to that 3.5 rebounds. So here's what I'm thinking to myself then. If they're expecting him not to get there, maybe they're expecting that even if he does play, it's going to be a lot like, game 5 where he only played 24 minutes. But that doesn't really compute to me with his assist number today, which is still 5.5 right now. 5.5 of the assists. He had 7, 10, 12, 7, and then only 4 last game. So if he's only going to play 24 minutes, again, the 12 assists is probably the outlier there. The 7 to 10 numbers, the 7 and the 10 numbers are probably more of like the norm, the range that you would expect them to be in here. But that's the range you expect them to be in here playing 35 to 40 minutes. So if he's only going to play 24 minutes, then yeah, you would probably expect him to be under on the assist number. And under on the assist number is, let's see, minus 135 on BetMGM, the best number you can get there, minus 120 over on Bet Rivers there. So that's what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at if Marcus Smart is not going to play his full minutes, we want to take the under assist. If he is going to play his full minutes, we want to take the over on that small rebound total there. So, we really got to kind of see what we want to do here, depending on which side of the coin you fall on here. If you think he's going to get his minutes today, then you want to be over on those rebounds. If you don't think he's going to get his minutes today, then you want to be under on that assist number. So for me, I'm actually leaning more towards the under on the assist number. Because like I said, I do think Marcus Smart's going to play, even though he's listed as questionable. And that's actually good. I don't want him to sit out. Because if he does play, I don't think he can play 37 minutes. So, people are going to be looking at him and expecting him. And, the books even kind of had the price in and the chance that he might play those big minutes. But if he only plays like 24 minutes or so here, I don't see him getting 6, 7, 8 assists. So I think the under on the assist number is the better way to play this. Again, if you think he's going to play his full 37 minutes, you should be pounding the over on that rebounding number because 3.5 is way too low for a guy that's playing as, that's been grabbing rebounds the way he has in this series. So anyway, let's go on and talk about that spread here right now. I just wanted to talk about that with Marcus Smart. Oh, real quick too, Robert Williams, the other guy for the Celtics that is listed as questionable today. Although he's played the last 2 games, they said that he's going to be a guy that's on and off throughout the rest of the playoffs. So they may rest him a game here or there. I don't know if it'll be this game with the closeout and then back in Boston. But, again, just something to think of. He did play 27 minutes last game, so that's more minutes than I think we've seen him play in the entire series. That's actually a lot of minutes for him. So to me, I think he's going to be absolutely fine, but they do keep the questionable tag there. So I just wanted to mention it. All right, so here we go. We look at the spread. The spread opened at 8.5, which is the biggest number we've seen so far this series. Celtics in the last game, I think, got up to 6.5, 7, maybe 7, maybe even 7.5 on some books. But 8.5 is by far the biggest number here. We're back in Boston right now, so it makes sense. Boston in the 5 games that they've played. So they lost the first game by 11. They won the second game by 25. They lost the third game by 6. They won the fourth game by 20. They won the fifth game by 13. So the 3 Boston wins this series have been by 13, 20, and 25 points. So again, a lot of people are expecting Boston to win. If you look at it that way, that 8.5 number, not really all that big. Do I want to lay 8.5 points? I don't know. Maybe I kind of do because of the way that the injuries have really kind of just derailed this Miami team right here. I don't think it's crazy to lay 8.5 points. If I had to pick a side, I'd rather be on Boston minus 8.5 than Miami plus 8. And every book right now, literally every one of the online sports books that we partner with right now has this game at the exact same 8.5 number, plus or minus, at a minus 110 juice here. So I don't want to be on Miami plus 8.5. I'd rather be on the Celtics minus 8.5. And that's probably the way I would play a side here. As for the total on this game, the total in this series has been falling off the table, and it's actually made a lot of sense. Total opened at 201. Again, the 8.5 has been the biggest number that we've seen this series for a spread. The total of 201 is the lowest number that we've seen this series for a total. You could play over 201 at most sports books, with the exception of BetMGM, DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, Unibet, BetRivers, Sugar House, all has over 201 at that minus 110 price. BetMGM has under 201.5 at a minus 115. So that would be the way that I would be looking to play the under if you want to play the under. Like I said, BetMGM, you got to pay a little more juice, but you do get the extra half a point. If you want to just play 201 at the minus 110, like I said, all those other sites I mentioned have it at over or under 201 at the minus 110, and you could play it over there. So, you know, we're gonna look at the rest of this series in 2 ways, right? It's gonna be pre-Jimmy Butler industry and post-Jimmy Butler injury. And the reason why I say that is you could see how the numbers have fallen off the table since that game 3. So the first 2 games of the series, 225, 229 totals in the first 2 games of the series. Game 3 is when Jimmy went down with the knee injury at halftime, 212 points, right? Game 4 and game 5 has now been 184 points and 173 total points. Those are horrendous numbers. And honestly, it's mostly on Miami, because in those 2 games, Miami scored 82 and 80 points. If the Celtics are going to be able to limit Miami to under 90 points, there's even at 201, I don't think there's a way that this game can get to the over here today. So that's really what you got to kind of see is like, do you think that Jimmy Butler bounces back? Do you think that Tyler Hero could play more minutes today? Do you think Kyle Lowry plays better today? Because if your answer to, and Max Strus is another one. Strus is like 0 of 15 in the last 2 games. And I'm not talking from 3. I'm talking just in general. The guy hasn't made a shot since game 3. If those guys can't generate any offense, if the guys that we talked about like Hero and Lowry and Jimmy Butler can't get to the basket and get Max Strus those wide open shots or those, couple seconds to get an open look here or there, I don't even understand how Miami is going to score here. Because at this point, you're relying on like Bam Adebayo, PJ Tucker, Duncan Robinson coming off the bench, who didn't even play in the last series, I think. Gabe Vincent, who actually has been one of the few like kind of bright spots, I would say, for Miami in the last, game or so. Like when he comes in, he's actually, you could see them actually pick it up a little bit versus, where they are when Kyle Lowry was the one that was running everything. And again, I love Kyle Lowry. He's just, this is what injuries do to teams right now. So, I mean, even at the 201 or 201.5 number, I think you want to be under in this game, right? Like, I could see the Celtics defense clamping down. I could see this game finishing like, I don't know, 102-89 or something like that. I mean, even the Celtics, you got point guard Marcus Smart, who's a little bit banged up. They'll probably be playing a little more Derek White. Not that Derek White hasn't played a lot of minutes anyway, but the Celtics will probably go big if Robert Williams is good in there with him and Horford on the floor at the same time. I mean, there's a lot of things here that are pointing to the under here. So I like the under at that 201.5 number. All right, so let's talk some more player props here. I mean, we talked about the Marcus Smart one already. Let me talk about Bam Adebayo next. This is one of my favorite ones to play on the sports books today. Minus 108 on FanDuel for Bam to go over 16.5 points. So, I mean, again, just to reiterate, Jimmy not 100%, Lowry not 100%, Hero not 100%. The other guys on the floor to score, PJ Tucker, never been a big scorer throughout his career. Guys like Strus and Duncan Robinson, they're shooters, right? And the Celtics are going to come out on them and make those guys kind of drive because the other guys aren't there. And, Gabe Vincent, probably the best scorer that they have there. That's, close to 100% at the moment that, they're giving minutes to out there on the floor. Somebody else has to put the ball in the basket. I mean, again, that's why they had 82 and 80 points in the last two games. But in those last two games, I mean, Bam Adebayo last game, 18 points of the 80 that the team scored. That's 22% of Miami's total points. Miami does project for 96 or 96 and a half, somewhere in there. A little over 96 points here today. So, I mean, again, who's going to take those shots? If those guys are not on and you need somebody to score, Bam was the guy in the fourth quarter that was trying to do everything he could to bring Miami back. I think he had 8 points in that fourth quarter. I don't even think he played the whole thing in that last game there. So, at 96 points, you would need Bam to do about 17% of the scoring here. Remember, Tyler Hero takes double-digit shots. If he sits or if he's limited, somebody's got to make up for those shots, right? Like Kyle Lowry, again, he took 11 shots in the first game. I don't think he took many in the last game, and he wasn't good even with the shots that he took. And I think he realizes that he's not 100%, and there are better options on the floor to score if he just does some of the little things there. So there's extra shots that got to go out there. And then again, I mean, Jimmy, as long as Jimmy's playing, he's going to get his shots up. But, even he has taken less shots in the last couple games than he took in the first couple. So that means that you're going to have to go to somewhere else to score. I mean, we saw Bam have that big game in game 3 where he had 31 points in that game. So, Bam can be a guy that can get, a little bit of extra scoring. I wouldn't expect that 31 again. I think that's an outlier, but the fact that he's taking the double-digit shots in the recent games because these other guys aren't able to or aren't playing, I think that's something that stays here. So I like Bam on the sports books over 108 at FanDuel. That's one of my favorite plays here today. We talked about the Marcus Smart stuff already. Again, I like the under 5.5 assists on him. I like that better as a play over on Sleeper. Again, -135 at BetMGM. That's a 56, 57% chance likelihood of happening. So that's something that I would be looking to get into my sleeper plays here today. Again, I'm going to talk about Jimmy Butler too. So Jimmy Butler, the last couple of games, it was 24.5 has been his points prop after the monster games he had at the beginning of this series here. 22.5 is the number here today. And I actually like the under. So, again, love Jimmy, but I mean, I'm just going to give you guys the numbers, again, pre-injury, post-injury in game 3. So we're going to throw game 3 out altogether because he only played the first half in that game, right? So let's talk about game 1 and game 2. Game 1 and game 2, Jimmy was 12 of 19 with 17 of 18 from the free throw line in game 1, 41 total points. Game 2, 11 of 18 field goal attempts, 6 of 8 from the free throw line, 29 total points. In game 1 and game 2 combined, Jimmy Butler shot 62% from the field, which again, unsustainably high. He was incredibly hot in those first couple games, but he has had a really good playoff series where he's been, very good and been one of their main scorers and the focal points for this team, right? But the big thing for me is 8 and 18 free throws in those two games, averaging 13 free throw attempts per game. The least he had was 8. Like I said, the 18 is probably an outlier, but either way, this is a guy who was driving, getting to the line, rebounding down low, going up strong, getting to the line there, right? Throw out game 3. Now let's look at game 4 and game 5. Game 4, 3 of 14 from the field, did not take a free throw, only had 6 points. They got blown out. Game 5, the last game, 4 of 18 from the field, slightly better, but not great on the percentage. He did get to the free throw line 4 times, knocked all 4 of those free throws down, scored 13 total points. In the last 2 games, Jimmy Butler is shooting 22% from the floor, and he's averaging 2 free throw attempts per game as opposed to, what did he have in the first series? 13 free throw attempts per game. Again, he took 4 free throws in one game, none in the other. He took 18 and 8 in the first 2. That tells me that in the first 2, he was attacking. He was being aggressive. He was rebounding and banging with bodies down low. In the last 2 games, he hasn't done that. And it's not that he doesn't want to do that. Again, he's another one that's banged up right now. And yes, having Jimmy Butler at maybe 70, 80% is probably still better than, letting Duncan Robinson play 45 minutes tonight. But not having Jimmy Butler at 90 or 100% is the reason why this is no longer a close series in these last couple games here. So I like the under on Jimmy Butler here. I like it on Sleeper. I also don't mind taking it on the sports books. You can get the under on 22.5 points with Jimmy, -110 on DraftKings and BetMGM today. If he's not attacking and he's not able to be aggressive, if he's standing out there shooting jump shots, which is what the Celtics are trying to limit him to do, I don't see Jimmy putting up a big game here today. And I hate to say it, but, under 22.5 points on Jimmy Butler is another one that I like. But then the last one that I'm looking at here, we'll go back to the Celtics side. It's going to be Al Horford over 8.5 rebounds. You can't even find this on the sports book at under minus 134 right now on FanDuel. Caesars has it at minus 141. Every other sports book is between either minus 135 or minus 140. So FanDuel one basis point below that. Caesars 1 basis point above that range. FanDuel minus 134, the best price. I mean, you're looking at like a 57, 58% likely probability based on the implied odds here from the sports books and the bettors. The last 3 games, Al Horford has had 13, 14, and 7 rebounds last game, right? So last game was the outlier, but last game was also a game where I think Jason Tatum had a double-double. You got a bunch of rebounds from like Robert Williams. Even Marcus Smart had 5 in like 24 minutes, which is well above his normal rebounding average. And speaking of rebounding averages, here's something to break down here today, right? So Horford in the last 3 games has been on the floor for 114 minutes. He's grabbed 34 rebounds. That means he's grabbing 0.29 rebounds per minute, right? The least amount of minutes he's played in this series in any game is 33. So 33 as the floor for him there times 0.29 equals 9.57 rebounds. The number is 8.5 here. The number should be 9.5. So already I think we have a little bit of value there on the over. And then again, in some of these games, he's played as much as 39 or 42 minutes. Well, you do 0.29 rebounds over 39 or 42 minutes, you're looking at like 11.5, 12 rebounds, even if the rebound rate drops a little bit, which again, I'm not saying that it will because he played, what did he play? 39 or 42 minutes in game 3, and he finished with 14 rebounds there. So, I mean, that's basically right on with the average here. Actually, it's above what the average is here based on the numbers that we're talking about. But again, he's projecting if he plays 39, 40 minutes for more like 11 rebounds. And the number is 8.5 on the over here. So I just think this number is a little too low. Again, I'd rather play this one on Sleeper. I actually love this one on Sleeper. I think you should build your Sleeper plays around this one here today, to be honest with you. I would even put him together with you could do Horford with Marcus Smart as an under, or Marcus Smart assist as an under in one, and then Horford and Jimmy Butler as a under in the other one. And if you win one and you lose the other one, you still wind up making some money because they both pay at least 2-1 on there. Because Horford, to me, over 8.5 rebounds, definitely one that I'm going to be locking in to my Sleeper plays here today. So there you go. That kind of wraps it up for the breakdowns on the the player props. One other thing I wanted to add with the Jimmy under and the stuff I was saying about Lowry and Hero. Victor Oladipo has been a guy who has taken on a bigger offensive role, right? Anybody who's watched the series have seen that they're playing Victor Oladipo on the floor a lot more. He had one decent shooting game. I think it was game 4. But outside of game 4, this guy has been absolutely horrendous. Like 2 of 8 shooting, 1 of 4 shooting. Like, I think he's 13 of 44 for the series, which means he's shooting like 33%. And yeah, Victor Oladipo can help you with ball handling. He can do some rebounding, defend a little bit there. But at the same point in time, I mean, when you're giving Tyler Hero minutes, Tyler Hero shots, and 100% healthy Kyle Lowry minutes and shots to a guy like Victor Oladipo who's shooting at a very low percentage, I mean, you could tell why Miami's been struggling to score. There are so many signs that you're looking at here that are just saying, yeah, this makes sense why this is happening. And that's why I don't expect Miami to bounce back here. If Miami full strength healthy, I would have loved to have seen this series. And again, it was a great series through the first 2.5 games, but with all these injuries that they had, I think that's going to be what does them in. Boston Celtics are going to close them out here tonight. That's the way I'm looking at it. So again, the last thing we like to do in the show here, I'm going to give you guys my Sleeper play of the day. Remember, you can go down to the description below, sleeper.com/FTN bets. That gets you access to our group chat and also gives you that bonus of up to 100% on your first deposit, up to $100. Like I tell people, if you have $100 you can afford to put in the full $100, get the full deposit bonus match, and then you have $200 to play with. And here's what I would do if I signed up today on Sleeper and had that full $200. I would be looking at, surprise, surprise, Al Horford over 8.5 rebounds. You can rewind the tape 15 seconds if you forget why I'm interested in that, because I just went into it pretty deep. The other one that I'm going to be putting with it is going to be that Marcus Smart under 5.5 assists here. Like I said to you guys, if you think Smart's going to play his minutes, you want to be over that 3.5 rebound number because it's too low. But the fact that I'm seeing the under rebounds and the under assist here leads me to believe that the 24 minutes he played last game, maybe he gets up to 30 at most today, but they also were, not minutes that I'm expecting him to basically be playing up to his full potential that we normally see him. So I like the under on Marcus Smart at 5.5 assists. Again, Jimmy Butler being banged up and not playing well. I actually think there's a better chance that Jimmy could get over 22 points than there is that Smart gets over 6 assists here. So that's why I played the Marcus Smart one instead of the Jimmy one. But I think they're both playable here today if you want to. Over on Sleeper. Remember, go down to the description. You guys can get involved in that too. I also wanted to mention, because it was funny that I was on I was on a call yesterday and I was listening to this at the company. I also wanted to mention that there has been a little bit of a internal debate on whether or not we turn off the early bird pricing now that we're getting a little closer to the month of June with Memorial Day weekend coming up. So I did want to tell everybody, if you're interested in getting the best price on our fantasy packages, whether it be daily fantasy, whether it even be the FTN bets package or the FTN fantasy one, over on any of our sites, promo code Benny will save you 20% off on those early bird pricing ones. Get into it now and use the promo code, because I don't know exactly what day, but I can tell you that it will not be long when the price goes up on those. So definitely make sure you guys go over there now and take advantage of it, because this is going to be the best price you can get on any of our football packages. Is going to be basically sometime in the next, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 days through Memorial Day weekend. I don't know if it's getting shut off on Monday or, sometime later in the week when everybody gets back from vacation. But I can tell you guys it's probably not going to last till next Friday. So now is definitely the time to get over there. FTNfantasy.com/pricing, FTNbets.com/pricing, FTNdaily.com/pricing, and use promo code Benny when you sign up. You'll save that 20%. Little Memorial Day weekend gift from me to you guys before I get in my car and drive down to the Jersey Shore. So there you go. That's going to wrap it up for today's edition of the FTN Betscast here at FTN Bets for Friday, May 27th, sponsored by Sleeper. Good luck, everybody.
Live from the new sports betting capital of the world.
You might be from Texas, but I'm from New Jersey.